All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing well. I have a couple videos. I don't know if it's going to be a part one, part two, depends. I just have a lot to hear. Before this video, there's going to be a podcast. Is podcast number 88, and it's all about, you know, talking about some truth, but also Father God has a message there for those of you who still think that He's not capable of doing the impossible, which is working on certain people's hearts. Okay, so it's that I think is going to help those who have been brokenhearted or dealing with broken heart. Most of us in the collective of collective liberation, advocating and amplifying and trying to stop a genocide, are constantly have or heartbroken every time, betrayed, and that's part of the program, right? That is part of the system to keep you oppressed and continue, doing all these horrendous things and thinking that they can continue getting away with it. They're not God. That podcast is going to reveal a lot of things for you, even for myself. While I was receiving the messages to give to you guys, I was actually also being like, and I'm going to follow my own, absolutely my own advice and guidance as well. Please, as always, we're here for educational purposes and enlightenment. Okay, we also are doing our own work, shadow work in the colonization. Most of the stuff here, it is going to trigger you, especially if you've been living in a world that is your own delusional ideology, again, endorsed and funded and programmed and educated and shoved down our throat is this oppressor, fascist, imperialist, and disgusting capitalist system that in Zionists, as we are getting the satanic jizz in our faces, and then top of it all, because they have money, they try to cover it with the mainstream media and thinking that we are not going to expose. That's my goal, and that's why I put that video on my short stories of that lady saying I have to follow what God tells me to follow, to do. And also, it's not only for the benefit of keeping my heart with pure intentions, my humanity, my soul, my integrity, my honesty, so but also for other people. So me abiding to my principles, my values, and goals, and for that I say that I do it, because what I say that I do, I have to do it, right? It's not just speaking and then nothing is happening, right? So a lot of people so far have resonated with that. So thank you guys so much for your likes, your comments, your share, your subscription. It does help the channel. It does help this movement continue going. And it does help for those people who are going to be added in this video, just like I've been doing for the past 9 months. Same thing with the Sudan and Congo. We cannot just let that. We have to also advocate for them. So I'm going to also add some videos about other organizations, other people, truth tellers and advocate, and people who are activists of this. We are the resistant fighters, believe it or not. As when you speak the truth, this is something that you also are doing for them to help them validate that those who they are defending and protecting and supporting is, their voice also is heard, because they were those people who they are protecting, who they are making sure that they're safe. They were those people. They were those kids, those children that lost their mother and father and all their entire family because of an occupation, because of an apartheid. And we are grateful for South Africa, what they're doing. The ICCJ and the ICJ, they have to continue overcoming this law sanction against them, which is ridiculous. It's kind of like a psychopath criminal murder. Literally, because they have money, they're going to say, no, you're not going to convict me. You're not going to hold me accountable for my crimes, so I'm gonna put a law that makes it okay for me to continue. That's what they're doing. Literally. Think about that. And this is where we are, most of us, our mission has shifted a lot, especially spiritualists. The real spiritualists, we understand now that how important the colonization and shadow work is. outside of religious doctrine, beliefs of any religion. It's important. We also have to understand that we have to implement all those religions some way after we're decolonized, bring it back, but only with the good seeds. Only with the intention of removing oppressive systems from those holy books that absolutely have been altered to benefit oppressors. We have to be okay with that, accepting that, and letting God heal that. That's what that podcast is because it's hard to believe that we have trusted. We have been brainwashed and programmed. That's what being wake is. Being anti-racist, anti-capitalist, anti-Zionist. Not bypassing because you're spiritual, because you have gifts and talents that you are supposed to be sharing with the world. Not hoarding, not just sharing with some people that believe your ideologies and then just staying complicit and not talking about worldviews and how it's not equal. That's what you're most of your spiritualist people that call yourself spiritual, you have gifts, you can read energy and stuff like that, but you're not reading the real energy and advocating for those. That's what you're here for. So you're just a fake ass bypasser, complicit and supportive of the oppressor with your love and light. Do not let any spiritual people right now let you deteriorate and confuse you and literally numb you and let you deteriorate from the fact that there's people out there. And just because you're not dealing with it, because you have the privileges and safety net, right? Because you live in those Western countries that are doing the atrocities with your tax money, that doesn't make you complicit. That guilt and shame is going to eat you, all of y'all, alive. That's what a lot of us, we're trying to save you, but we're done with that. You need God, you need Jesus. A lot of people, they need Jesus. And we need to accept that too. Those who are truth teller and advocate. I know, I understand. You're like, I can't believe there's people still saying this. Yes, you have to believe it too. And it's hard, and it breaks your heart every single time. It breaks your heart watching those videos and seeing people there not saying shit. We have to constantly, our heart has to be constantly be shattered. And that's the gift that God has given you, that your heart can be shattered into multiple pieces and he will regenerate it all over again. And you'll be stronger. Just like the Palestinians, just like the Congo and the Sudan and all the oppressed, they become stronger. That's who we need to learn from. Humble ourselves, put ourselves in their shoes, and see if we have the benefits that they don't have and the privileges, how can we help them get there? That's Christ consciousness, right? That's what I think. But that's just my opinion. But here goes some videos for you.
Today marks 57 years since the start of Israel's military occupation. And today is also the day that Israel has set for what they call Jerusalem Day. What Jerusalem Day is the literal celebration of the start of the occupation. It's the celebration of the takeover of Palestinian land. It's the celebration of the denial of Palestinian freedom. And this year as well, it's the celebration, the Israeli celebration of the genocide that they are carrying out in the Gaza Strip. The chants that we've heard today have ranged from death to Arabs, to may your village burn, to Jews are the righteous and Arabs are sons of b****s. We've also heard them say, let Gaza burn. And they've also been shouting that the Al-Aqsa flood, that they are the Al-Aqsa flood. We've seen young people wearing T-shirts that say, Kahane high, Kahane lives, Kahane was right. And what these T-shirts are is they're T-shirts of Rabbi Meir Kahane, a man who believed and espoused the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And so you see here lots of people who are wearing these shirts and who are chanting his slogans as well. As they're chanting these slogans, they have harassed a number of Palestinians. They beat up 2 Palestinian journalists and a foreign journalist. And throughout this entire period, they've been throwing objects at the foreign journalists. Some of them are rocks, some bottles of water. And as this is all happening, the Israeli police are standing by and doing absolutely nothing. It's hard to believe that people are literally celebrating genocide, that they are celebrating the denial of freedom, that they're celebrating the takeover of another people's land. But this is Israel.
$70,000 tons. That is the measurement of the amount of bombs dropped on the Gaza Strip. 70,000 tons of bombs dropped surpassed any number of any conflict in history. It surpassed that of World War II. So we are 9 months into this genocide, and you have dropped that amount of bombs, but the resistance is still active. The resistance is still as strong as it was back in October. So one of two things. Either the resistance was not the actual goal, or two, you guys are completely incompetent. And we know the resistance was never the target because the munitions that was used were designed for impact and damage and not precision. And you can never convince me otherwise that dropping 70,000 tons of bombs, massacring about 40,000 people, that's just what we know. Creating the world's biggest public health crisis while displacing millions of people is an act of self-defense.
كلمته
ينزل المفتاح ينزل المفتاح ينزل المفتاح ينزل المفتاح ينزل المفتاح ينزل المفتاح جيب مفتاح جيب مفتاح جيب مفتاح السيارة جيب
Do you know what we're not hearing about Gaza? People killing each other for supplies, which would absolutely have happened immediately in the United States. Do you guys remember when COVID first hit? And people fucking cleared the shelves of toilet paper and every other necessity you could ever need in your fucking life? But in connecting with more Gazans and in seeing more like content coming directly out of Gaza that isn't just about the destruction, but is about the culture and is about how these people are surviving together and making food together and making sure that each other are helping each other find their families and pull each other out of rubble and like do all of these things that are just so caring about each other and humanity. The narrative of these aren't human beings, these are animals is just like the stupidest fucking bullshit I've ever heard in my life. In the past 8 months, I've learned that Gazans and Palestinians in general are some of the most generous, loving, caring people on this planet and the most like faithful, the most like strong in their belief system. Imagine what the world could be if we were all like the people in Gaza. If we all cared about each other like the people in Gaza do.
I don't know what to say, to be honest. Over 100 people were murdered in a village in Yazida State today by the RSF, 21 of whom were from a singular family. This morning, reports out of Khartoum that 4 people were killed, one of whom was a journalist, the second journalist to be murdered by the RSF in the last 24 hours in different cities. A video surfaced out of Durman of a mosque which had been converted by the RSF into a torture chamber in which they raped several women. Reports that a student of Ahfad University for Women was abducted by the RSF, tortured, and killed. Across the country in Al-Fashir, a mother and daughter raped by the RSF. And that's all just today. That's all just today. And nobody knows You won't see this on your TV. The only people who reported on it are Sudanese. And as I sit here and tell you all of this, I have to wonder if the words I used are going to get my video flagged. I have to jump through silly, demeaning hoops, like saying the word grape, in the hopes that maybe the message will reach you. It's humiliating to talk about my people suffering this way. It makes me disgusted with myself.
Who are you? Yeah, close your eyes. Close your eyes. يا بنزونة. It's not a Jewish state. It's a rebellion against the Torah and against God. It's a Nazi state. It's a terrorist state.
Show me the proof in the Torah. Show me.
Yes, Shira Shirim Shuri Shvitis Be'ana Kudish Gurichi.
What pasuk? What pasuk?
Judaism
What
is
pasuk?
not Zionism.
What pasuk?
Judaism is included in Torah.
That's why there's so little of you.
My brother.
And now you want to blame it on something?
She's not totally Muslim.
Huh?
She and her family thought that it was entertaining that my cousins were Islam.
The Jews. So you're a Jew then?
Not my identity, but I have family there. I've rejected the religion completely.
You're a Zionist.
No, I'm not anymore.
You was a Zionist. So you, after killing her, you decided to leave Zionism.
I'm leaving everything. I don't give a about religion anymore.
So you're a Zionist.
Once upon a time.
You was a Zionist. So you killed her because she was happy that the Muslims killing the Jews. Is that what you said? And you got no remorse in you that 40,000 Muslim women and children were killed in Palestine. The Jews killed 40,000, the Zionists killed. You know the
It's not even a numbers anymore. It's an ethical problem that we have here.
Did that make you uncomfortable? Good. You're supposed to feel that way. Normal people who have a heart and empathy will feel very uncomfortable for most videos that we're posting here. Do not let nobody tell you that this is normal. This is what they're trying to do. Make you synthesize. Basically, dehumanize those people that are suffering those things that they are inflicting on them, and because they have money and they abuse of power intensely, that they think that that's okay for them to do. But they work for us. Their goal is to make us believe and not take action and think that they're just going to continue getting away with it because they have this white supremacy complexity and, people giving them money to do this stuff. Money is not everything. And yes, money is the root of all evil when you are okay with capitalism, oppression, genocide. That's where it becomes the root of all evil. And that's why God does not want you guys to idolize money or vanity or greed or anything like that. This is why he keeps telling you guys that the only way you can really hear him is how humble your heart is, how integrity, how honest you are, how many people have you helped. Yeah, there is levels to get to have that privilege to be able to hear him, but it takes a lot of work from within ourselves, within our communities, and within whatever it is that we do on a daily basis. How grateful you are for all the things that you have already, and even the things that you don't have, you're still grateful for the little things that you have. That's why you'll see God. You will see him, feel him everything. This is why he's always surrounded by people who suffer the most intense conditions, suffering in the poorest in the Western world. Poor is because for them, yeah, poverty is violence, poverty is oppression, poverty is capitalism, homelessness is actually the byproduct of capitalism, because capitalism cannot thrive without homelessness. Did you know that? It cannot thrive without poverty. Did you know that? It cannot thrive without richer getting richer by oppressing and stealing from other people. And I'm not just saying stealing physically or land or anything like that. There is the spiritual one too, and they are very verse about this one. They're just pretending and making you guys all believe that, oh, spiritual people, oh, tree huggers, and oh, they're just conspiracy. They don't know what they're talking about. Meanwhile, we are exposing them and they hate it. And I know I have a lot of haters. I see it. They come on the comments, emails, posts, all this stuff. Oh, well, if the shoe fit, I meant to say, then it fit. And if it doesn't, you let it go, right? It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't affect you. But if it does, which most Zionists, that's what it is. It is their accusation. It's their confessions right now. They don't stop, you know? They cannot, it's like the time that they actually acknowledge how horrendous and atrocious and heinous crimes that has been happening, and they have been supported and advocating, and you know what I'm saying, and then believing also, like there are some people that have literally told me that there is no genocide. That level of ignorance and arrogance and pride, I don't know. It's just, I have to see it for myself, right? We all have to experience that somewhere or another to believe it. And God says, believe it when someone shows you who they truly are. They really are like that. And the only way they can change is through God. You cannot change that person. Nobody can change these people. That's why for a lot of us, our education, the right education, anti-Zionism, anti-capitalism, no more racism, right? No more white supremacy BS, no decolonization, shadow work, good spirituality. They want the spirituality that is advocacy, that is resistance fighters. That's what real spirituality is. I explained that in the podcast too, 88. Go listen to it. It's probably a lengthy one, but it's a good one. Even me, it's just like, whoa. So you saw that. Now we're going to get a little bit deeper together. We're going to swim together, okay? Hold on tight because this one is a bit rough. I'm going to give some warning to some people. I'll put a warning in this. Not all videos are for Leo, but it's all for educational purpose. Please make sure you like the videos. Please make sure you share. Please make sure you put it out there. Go interact with the... If I didn't put the links here, usually the videos have their tag, their Instagram handle, their TikTok handle. Just go check it out. That's what I used to do before I was getting the links and stuff like that. I just look at the people's like little handles and I go searching myself. Yes, it takes work. Yes, it takes time. Like, okay, looking for the person, making sure that's the right one, liking, sharing, putting it out there. That's all you're asking you to do right now, because of all that I have, the descriptions and all the community that I have down there. Please make sure if you can donate, share their handle. The Olive Operational Branch Google Drive is still there. You can go, and if you have the means to help other people or just share their content, their petition, it does help them, okay, at least to survive while they're in a concentration camp, Holocaust concentration camp, because that's really what it is. Nobody can get in and nobody can get out. And bombed every single day, every single hour. Tents, refugees. You have refugees in their own land. And they cannot, it's like it's not comprehending in their delusional illusion that they're believing their own BS that is their land. They are indigenous to Israel. And I don't call it Israel anymore. It's occupied Palestine. It will always be Palestine now. In my thank you to the decolonization and the work that I've done. This is why I cannot speak with Zionists anymore. We don't have the same education. It's literally the same energy. The vibration is different. This is why there's no two sides. There cannot be. It's harmful to even say that, because one, we have a masochist, psychopath wanting to eradicate one side, and the other one trying to resist from them killing them and wiping them out. And then having the one that is trying to kill them and wipe them out create a bunch of lies about them trying to kill them and wipe them out, so that they look like the victims, so they look like the good guys, and then those who are resisting them from killing them, they look like the bad guys. It's so toxic. This is why it's called psychological warfare, which the oppressor is very, very skilled on. So let's dive in.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about what is going on in Sudan. Yesterday, I seen a video of a man, a Sudanese man, hogtied by RSF forces. Those forces are UAE, Saudi, Zionist-backed forces. Hogtie him, put him in a river, and drown him slowly. There are also numerous videos that I've seen of mass graves, just sheer violence perpetuated. And when I really looked into this, there are over 8 million people displaced in Sudan by the RSF forces. Just because we are not seeing it, it doesn't mean that it's not happening right now. I understand the world's focus is on Palestine, and this is as a Palestinian speaking. However, we owe the duty to speak up and advocate what is going on in Sudan, because in a sense, it's the same oppressor. It's the same entity inflicting this. When I thought I seen things already in the last 8-9 months of what's going on in Palestine that's going to haunt me forever, what I seen in Sudan is just as bad.
The past couple of days, the axis of resistance have been taking the fight to Israel. In the north, Hezbollah has been targeting with precision the Iron Dome batteries of Israel and destroying them. Not only that, the Al-Qassam brigades have attacked Israel outside of Gaza by going through their tunnel network, directly attacking an Israeli barracks inside their own territory. Not to be outdone, Yemen and Iraq have been coordinating strikes on the port of Haifa in order to target transport ships delivering weapons. Not only that, the IOF forces have been driven out in different parts of Gaza, as well as the Air Force of Israel have been attacked by Hezbollah's surface-to-air missiles, forcing their planes to turn back. This shows how Israel is losing on all fronts and how this genocide would be over without the funding from the US empire and their vassal states.
At 1:30 a.m. in the morning, people were sleeping when the Israeli forces targeted them. All of the floor is filled with blood. Children, women are terrified, but unfortunately, they don't have anywhere to go. They're still sheltering in the school.
أنا نشتغل نزل مش ولا واحد مش يلعب في المدرسة اللي قاعدين أطفال بنلعب. قاعد جنب أبويا الله يرحمه إيش هي ملقي البلوك جاء على راسه وليش البلوك جاء على رجله وليش غير أبويا جاء كل البلوكات جاء على راسه أبويا استحسن.
we are seeing a humanitarian catastrophe on a scale that it's very hard to believe unless you see it. The Palestinian staff have been working since the beginning of the war without a break. There is not enough aid, there are not enough staff, there is not enough space. So the international community needs to put pressure to end this war, to bring some justice, and to make sure that there is aid so that the people who are suffering here can at least have the care that they need.
For the first time in Canadian history, the words sanction Israel now are being used in the House of Commons. Petition 4940 was brought to the House of Commons by NDP MP Heather McPherson and calls for immediate sanctions to be imposed onto the state of Israel until they agree to a permanent ceasefire, they allow aid to enter Gaza, they end their siege of Gaza, they end their decades-long occupation of Gaza and the West Bank, they acknowledge the generational trauma that comes from this decades-long occupation, and that they also release all of the Palestinian prisoners, aka hostages. This is the most strongly worded petition against Israel in Canadian history. Let's make it the most signed as well. So to find it, go to ourcommons.ca/petitions and search 4940, or you can find the link in our bio. The deadline is soon. It's June 7th at 3 p.m. So share, make sure you sign it and share it with all of your friends. Thank you so much for all of your support, and as always, free Palestine.
You know, every day we read about more and more of these atrocities that Israel is committing. And you know, for those of you who are not aware, I mean, literally, another school was just bombed, and a UN school, and children slaughtered, and Israel doesn't even deny it anymore. Listen to this: a leaked UN report just came out of them sodomizing Palestinian prisoners to death. They literally have a fucking heated up iron rod, and they shove it up their ass. And they burn to death and die. I mean, the stuff that is coming out it's going to continue to come out for years as this is investigated. This is going to change the whole world. And for those of you on the wrong side, I just feel sick to my stomach for you. I just feel sick to my fucking stomach. And you will be so embarrassed. You will be the scourge of the earth. Your grandchildren will change their name because they're embarrassed to be associated with you, because this is what you supported. Shame on you.
While we were in the the hospital, it seems that some rockets were launched. We don't know from which side to which side, but it seems that tension is happening in Gaza, and we had to evacuate back to the office. We are now in the very early, I would say, stage of this tension or escalation, but we need to assess and see what we can do. In the initial phase, again, it's dangerous. In the initial phase, we don't know what will happen, which place or building or car will be targeted, but at least we know that it might start in the evening, for example, to be more tough and more serious. And people indeed in Gaza, before escalations or wars, they tend to go to the malls or supermarkets or anything, and they get food to keep it, because they don't know what will happen if they will be starving or not at some point. This is Gaza Strip, which is 365 kilometers square, and with more than 2.17 million as a population, which makes it one of the most densely populated areas in the world. And unfortunately, this strip is under siege for more than 15 years. And when I say siege, it's in real It's a real siege, with walls all around Gaza from all sides except for the seaside, with walls underground and walls above the ground that people cannot move except by two borders. It is border, which is between Gaza and Israel, and a Rafah border, which is between Gaza and Rafah. And for sure, there is a huge restriction on the movement of people, and people can feel the siege. Severe restrictions on people movement and limitations on the importation or the entry of the medical supplies and instruments are really affecting the healthcare access for the Palestinians. And we're not talking about only these escalations, we're talking about an occupation that has been imposed on Palestine for years and years, and the cumulative effect on the healthcare system is for sure catastrophic. So the MSF Belgium limb reconstructive surgery unit that started at Al-Auda Hospital in North Gaza in May 2018 was to support the Ministry of Health in responding to the emergent and large influx of the Great March of Return injured patients. And since then, we have upgraded our hospital, and for now we have 2 operation theaters, we have 27 inpatient department, we have a highly specific microbiology lab, and we have a multidisciplinary and comprehensive outpatient service. So I believe that this project came based on a real humanitarian need, and I would say that it developed with time, and now we are providing a real high quality service to the patients, and we can see the impact we are doing in the healthcare system in generally in Gaza.
وانا هذا قطعت اللحظه هذه انا ما حسيت بشيء، حسيت اني انا مقطع او قاعد بتشاهد واستنى اميل على اليمين او على الشمال استشهد. انا يعني افقد الوعي. بعد اي جهه بدي اموت، يعني كنا طلعت ما فيش فيا ولا رجل ولا ظهر ولا شيء، كله كفه. خذوني في الاسعاف من هان على المستشفى، اعلنوا استشهادي وحطوا لزقوا علي اني انا شهيد، واعلن الاعلام شهيد سابع. شهيد سابع في الهوايه. وربنا سبحان الله بعد اللي هو تقريبا 10 دقائق او 3 دقائق صرخت قلت صرت اقول رجلي، فتم اللي هو دخولي على العمليات وثبت رجلي بالكامل زائد لاولادي وزوجتي. وبعد 38 يوم تم زياره زوجتي واولادي، وكانت يعني لحظه مش هينه ولا سهله. كنت يعني في وضع صحي تعبان، وبعد 38 يوم تشوف اولادك وتشوف زوجتك، سبحان الله نسيت كل الالم ونسيت كل الوجع في زيارتهم، لو شفتهم في كذا. عمل الكرسي اللي يعني انا اقعد وانا قاعد زي اكني واقف، لان الحلاقه بدها رجلين بدها كذا، فوفر لي ان انا اكون مرتاح، اشتغل وانا مرتاح. بموت لا، ليش اموت؟ بدي اعيش غصبا عن الناس، بدي اعيش، هذه حياه بدي اعيشها زي ما الناس عايشه، بدي اعيش. انا بالنسبه لي كانسان مفقود صاحب اعاقه، الناس مش احسن مني، انا بدي اعيش ولي حق الحياه. ورغم الالم سيولد الامل. رغم الالم سيولد الامل ان شاء الله. الله يعافيك، معلش حلقك لسان طويل. Very inspiring.
Once there is an escalation, I feel as a medical doctor that the adrenaline level goes very high, because we anticipate at some point the big work and the big challenges we will face during the escalation. We start to prepare ourselves to see very difficult scenes, and the scenes is not only the killed bodies or the injured people, but also to see the sadness of their relatives when they come to the hospital. The last thing I would say that there is this medical definition which is called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's really funny that for us it's not post, there is no P, it's a chronic traumatic stress disorder because of the siege that is imposed on Gaza for more than 15 years, and because of the successive escalations that used to happen 4 years or 5 years apart, but now we are seeing things happening in a very narrower range. It might be happening every 2 years, every 1 year. In August 2022, an escalation happened for 4 or 5 days, and then another escalation was about to happen in 2023. So we're talking about really very continuous ones. And then I don't know if in the upcoming years it's going to be an escalation every year, and how life could it be like this? I don't know. But here we are, and we're trying. Yep, good.
We, like so many, were horrified by Hamas's massacre in Israel on October the 7th, and we are horrified by Israel's response. Israeli forces have attacked our convoys, detained our staff, bulldozed our vehicles, hospitals have been bombed and raided, we have watched our patients and our colleagues be killed and maimed. This pattern of attacks is either intentional or indicative of reckless incompetence. We have watched members of this council deliberate and delay while civilians die. Our teams are beyond exhausted. This is not just political inaction, it has become political complicity.
Hey everyone, this is Bissam from Gaza. It's the day 244 of a genocide. We are still alive. I am still alive. Actually, hundreds of thousands of people are in risk, are under attack daily, under bombing daily. So maybe I'm still alive, but a lot are not. So the attack is ongoing on Rafah, yes. But do you hear that? These are in Rafah, but also in the middle area of Gaza Strip. So they are working now in two sides. First, demolishing Rafah, like literally the bombing is non-stop the whole night and in the middle of the day like now. And the tanks are invading the western areas of Rafah, taking over the Mawasi, the fisherman place, and the borders, all the borders with Egypt. In the past 3 to 4 days, they ground invaded Al-Maghazi and Al-Brej refugee camps. So these refugee camps are to the east of Salah ad-Din in the middle area of Gaza Strip. But the west of Salah ad-Din was yet to come, because today the Israeli army brutally bombed Deir al-Balah, causing dozens of people to be killed, hundreds of injuries. Most of them are children and women. Why? Because 50% of our population in Gaza Strip are under 18. The Israeli army is literally targeting children and women, innocent people and civilians. They are killing people. Today, the Israeli army bombed the police station inside Al-Aqsa hospital. So, of course, since the beginning of the genocide, they intentionally destroyed the police stations, anyone who's distributing aid, securing the social fabric, guaranteeing security for people. So they are targeting them. But inside the hospital, they are taking care of civilians. يعني literally we say in Arabic لا راحم ولا سايب رحمة ربنا تنزل. They are killing people and killing everyone trying to protect people. This is why they are destroying and killing the police.
Let it sink in that Israel just killed 150 Palestinians in the middle area of Gaza in 𓂀🆃 refugee camp because Israel wanted to free 4 of their Israeli captives. The 4 Israeli captives are basically unharmed. They don't look like they have a single scratch on their body. Let it sink in that Palestinian blood is so freaking cheap to this world that for 8 months straight we've been getting killed wholesale. Wholesale butchering of Palestinian people is happening in front of our eyes. On the other hand, do you want to know what's happening to the thousands and thousands of Palestinian hostages that have been taken by Israel since the beginning of this genocide? Our men are getting raped using metal rods by Israelis. Our men are getting raped and the world has not batted an eye. And I don't care if you call me a hater, but I'm always gonna bring up this stupid AI image that 40 million people decided to share, many of whom had never spoken about Gaza before. And I always knew that more massacres will happen after the one in Rafah that no one would talk about. But you guys praised these 40 million, and I'm asking these 40 million, where are you?
As reports said from Gaza, the unit sneaked into the camp inside a truck carrying a humanitarian aid that came from the floating pier. Unit sneaked with a humanitarian aid into a dense populated area that committed in less than 10 minutes over than 150 deaths. And the number's still going up until this moment, as reports from Gaza, videos as showing, no need to show you the footage, body parts torn away everywhere. People start trying to collect body parts. A number still going up over than 150 plus to save 4 lives. By the approve and the assistance of the United States, the human rights organization, the free country, just committed a massacre that's worth 4 people that even look healthier than me. These hostages look sus as hell. Looks healthier than the men they saved. They look healthier than me. For the past 9 months for being a hostage, you look damn healthier than me. If you show their picture to anyone, you would think they were on a vacation. They'd be like they would just look tired from the vacation. But that's not our point.
Show me any other country that sets up automated guns at checkpoints for one particular race, that forces over 2 million people into a concentration camp, refuses to let in food, water, medical supplies, or construction materials, that uses their concentration camp as a testing ground for new weapons. For example, Lavender, the AI system that marks Palestinian doctors, journalists, pretty much anyone they don't like for assassination, then waits for them to arrive home, then sends a drone to blow up their entire family. Show me a regime that speaks so openly about exterminating the subhumans, about building a glorious future for the chosen people. Show me a regime with such callous disregard for international law and basic human decency. Israel has destroyed every hospital in Gaza while the world watched. Lied about it. Blew up every university in Gaza. Lied about it. Has targeted medical and media personnel. Lied about it. And every day we uncover evidence of new mass graves and executions of the elderly, the disabled, and children. So, no, it's not unreasonable to point out that Israel is very clearly a fascist ethno-state that would make the Nazis blush. That's just called telling the truth, even if it's a truth that our elected officials have chosen to ignore. And you don't need to take my word on any of this. The horrific thing about this genocide is that it's been widely broadcast online. Despite all Israel's attempts to keep the evidence contained, if you want to see the photos and videos I've seen, you can do it right now. Just go to Twitter or Telegram and search Palestine. People like me, the people in your life who seem unreasonably angry about this, have seen things that no human should ever have to see. And we're not even there. Imagine what it feels like to be in Palestine right now. You have no food, no water, no shelter. You can't sleep because of the constant bombs. You're watching your children starve and you can't do anything about it. And now that they've all been forced into the killing field of Rafah, there is nowhere to go. And Israel continues to dump bombs and white phosphorus, an internationally banned weapon that will burn through your bones, on the population they have deemed subhuman, all so they can secure their fascist ethnostate. No decent person can say Israel is any better than Nazi Germany.
Today, the UN added Israel to its list of shame for human rights violations against children. Among many other things, Israeli security forces are accused of recruiting Palestinian minors as informants. It's a charge Israel denies, but there's another claim in the report that it uses Palestinian children as human shields while operating in Gaza and the West Bank. Of course, the Israeli mission then decided to film Gilad Erdan receiving the call.
I am utterly shocked and disgusted by this shame.
It was dramatic, and Erdan tried to reverse it by saying, quote,
"The only one who is blacklisted today is the Secretary General."
Netanyahu also tried to do the same reverse move, saying the UN put itself on the blacklist of history when it joined the supporters of the Hamas murderers. Both Israel and Hamas have been included, and they joined the ranks of Russia, the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Afghanistan, Iraq, Myanmar, Somalia, Yemen, and Syria. In previous UN reports, chapters were included about Israel and Palestine, accusing Israel of grave violations against children, but Israel was never included in the annex at the end of the report, which has been called the list of shame. I have even seen some reports say that Israel is the first democratic country included on this list, but Israel is not a democracy. And democracies not being included on this list doesn't mean that they don't kill children all of the time. Side note, Netanyahu has been invited to address Congress in late July. Shaming child killers is something we obviously haven't been doing enough if this is Israel's first time on this list. Just a few months into this, the IDF had killed more children in Gaza than all global conflicts combined in the last 4 years together. Not to mention the forcible displacements, the starvation, the imprisonments.
So we're here once more at Russell Square, getting ready for the 15th National March calling for an end to Israel's genocide in Gaza. Now, a few months ago, standing on our stage in Whitehall, the Palestinian activist Mohammed El-Kurd gave us all a warning. He said we must not normalise massacres. 2 days ago, Israel committed its latest atrocity, bombing a UN school, killing at least 40 Palestinians, including children. 48 hours later, still no comment from Rishi Sunak, still no comment from Keir Starmer, still no comment, let alone a condemnation from the Foreign Secretary or the Shadow Foreign Secretary. And now, political leaders are getting ready to send their candidates to knock on your doors, come to your homes, asking for your votes. Our message is clear. We do not vote for those who normalise massacres. We do not vote for those who greenlight genocide. Next week, PSC will be launching our campaign demands under the Vote Palestine banner. We'll be setting up a tool so that you can send those demands to every candidate and make your decision about how you vote based on their responses. So take action next week. Let's make the issue of justice for the Palestinian people resonate in this election like never before. Today we're taking those demands with hundreds of thousands of people to the streets of London. Join us.
Today really solidified just how cheap Palestinian blood is to these colonial entities. A massacre was committed today in 𝓂�🆃Prt camp where over 250 Palestinians were martyred. The images that are coming out are absolutely disgusting. While this massacre was going on, occupational and American forces conducted an operation, hid in humanitarian aid trucks, jumped out and indiscriminately fired upon Palestinian civilians in order to save 4 colonizers. Remember that humanitarian aid port that was established to give aid? No, that was a Trojan horse, disguised for these colonial entities to conduct these so-called operations. It's also very important to note that on October 8th, all the way until June, today, the resistance offered all the hostages back. in return for our political prisoners. Instead, the occupation relentlessly committed massacre after massacre, killing their own hostages in the course of 9 months. New information has come out. The resistance has said that the occupation also killed some of their hostages today in this so-called operation to save these 4 colonizers. What's also very important to note that the occupation is trying to hide the condition of these colonizers. These colonizers' conditions actually in really good health, debunking all the myths that Hamas was mass raping them, keeping them in cages, and isolated from the world.
No, I wouldn't. What the fuck is wrong with you? And the appropriate math here would be, would I kill 50 people to save my brother? And the answer is still no. What the fuck is wrong with you? If there was a building with 50 people in it, and I knew that 48 of those people were innocent bystanders, would I bomb that building? No. What the fuck is wrong with you? Moreover, if I knew that the people in that building that were holding my brother had offered on 10 separate occasions to give him back peacefully, would I bomb that building? No. I would probably go off myself instead. What the fuck is wrong with Zionists? How are you this shamelessly, openly, abrasively soulless? What is wrong with Zionists? Oh wait, it's Zionism. This is the logical conclusion of extreme racism. You otherize a person and then you dehumanize them and dehumanize them and dehumanize them for decades until their life and their death are completely meaningless to you. The Israelis know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Bisan posted a clip showing 6 surveillance drones in the sky over 1 refugee tent camp. She showed another clip in which you could see 4 surveillance drones in the same frame. They know exactly what they're doing. They struck Rifat's apartment on the 2nd story on his side of the building in an apartment building directly. It wasn't even his home, but they knew he was in there. They struck the World Central Kitchen convoy 3 times in 3 separate locations. They know exactly what they're doing. The Israelis didn't kill 210 Palestinians in order to save 4 hostages. They saved 4 hostages in order to kill 210 people.
So the hostage rescue operation conducted early this morning will have far-reaching unintended consequences. Many are ecstatic right now about this first success after nearly 9 months, but there will be some hard realities and questions to answer come Monday. 1, the hostage families were gaining political traction calling for a ceasefire. Now their voice will be forever suppressed because the Israeli establishment is only interested in symbolic victories and will never admit that now that they've recovered 4 hostages, they'll never get the opportunity again. Hamas will change its tactics and procedures to ensure that something like this will never happen again. 2, how do you claim that a hostage rescue operation that killed hundreds of civilians in order to save 4 people a success? This blatant disregard for Palestinian life continues to damage Israel's reputation. 3, they will have to answer for the atrocity propaganda about hostages being raped in captivity. That's clearly not true, period. Don't bother arguing it. There will be more hard questions to answer about that come Monday, since the lies about SA have been used to justify monstrous violence. 4, the U.S. administration has completely lost it. Biden makes a grand speech about a ceasefire hostage deal, sends Blinken down to the region to broker this deal, and then makes a grand statement that the U.S. will put this proposal forward to the UN Security Council. Then they conduct a joint operation with Israel, a country that is currently on trial for genocide, in order to rescue 4 hostages whilst jointly killing hundreds of civilians. What are they thinking? This is the worst kind of ham-fisted foreign policy. 5, the 4 hostages will not change the facts on the ground, nor diminish Hamas's leverage. The only thing that the U.S. has accomplished here is to isolate itself further, be complicit in war crimes, and render itself unfit to lead any negotiations between the 2 parties involved. So, more on this Monday. We're going to have to wait till the White House press conference. You can just imagine Matt Miller right now in a bathroom stall in the fetal position, crying, not knowing how to word salad spin this really bad blunder. So, you know, could just do a ceasefire and just not have any of this be necessary. But, you know, we're just going to keep going downhill with no brakes.
This is not the first time that the United States has used humanitarian aid as a cover for military intervention. In the 1960s, they approached the ruler of Cambodia, a country that maintained itself neutral during the Vietnam War, with proposals to help in their infrastructure, to build roads to inaccessible parts of the country, to make it better connected. Secretly, they wanted to interfere with the supply chain that supplied the Viet Cong, with whom they were fighting against. And they did it secretly because of the backlash of the operations in Vietnam that they had at home, and in fear of the backlash of the international community, which would have come because of the number of casualties that they generated in Cambodia. 500,000 from the 1960s to 1973. It is widely recognized that the reckless American intervention destabilized Cambodia profoundly and led to the rise of the Khmer Rouge. These actions resulted in the deaths of millions of people. Then and now, the United States did not consider that the lives of the people that they murdered on the ground had any value. They're not American, they're not white. The difference between the United States government then and the United States government now is that they are expecting to be praised for this. This is a publicity stunt so that the government of Netanyahu can come home with a victory and Biden can potentially release some photos of himself in the Situation Room. Another significant difference between then and now is that millions of people across the globe are actually watching what's happening directly on their phones. They don't have to go through the filter of supine legacy media. We are all watching this directly at a time in which the geopolitical forces in the world are realigning, in which Europe is doubling down in their white supremacy against immigration, in which the areas of the Sahel, of Central Africa, and of the southern part of Africa are changing allegiances from France to Russia, from the United States to China. And more importantly, in an age in which the protestations of Western nations when it comes to human rights, when it comes to equality, when it comes to values, are being shown to be, for them, just another tool of control. To shield their allies and destroy their enemies. I marvel in stunned disbelief that they don't realize that this is going to come home to roost for all of us.
One of the biggest scams nobody knows is a scam: humanitarian foreign aid. Clearly the foreigners don't give a fuck. Laugh the clown, no single reference to the 200 Palestinian French potato minister, Australian, even the United Nations was started in 1945, just like the concept of humanitarian foreign aid. When colonized countries started fighting for their independence. Oh, you're poor, we're gonna give you some aid. They wasn't poor when you was extracting their resources. It's no secret that in exchange of foreign aid, receiving countries have to apply certain policies, elect certain leaders that are friendly. In today's day and age, the only type of aid that should exist is disaster relief. It is caused by nature, not by man. You're a fool if you think that you're actually aiding people in the global south by giving money to the people who took all their shit.
More than 200 people were killed and 400 people were injured because Israeli forces told them that Nusrat camp was a safe place for them to go to, only for them to get 150 rockets within 10 minutes so that the Israeli military can grab 4 hostages that were there. Killed and injured more than 600 people for 4 hostages. When they asked the IDF spokesperson for a comment, that person said that they killed less than 100 people. That's all they said. Also added that today was an emotional and happy day for the state of Israel and the IDF. There have been multiple ceasefire deals that have been presented to Netanyahu and his whole entire cabinet every single time he said, no, we need to take out Hamas. Do you and I really think that Netanyahu gives a shit about the hostages, or do we think that it's just another ploy to kill and make more Gazans suffer? To make it even better, the White House put out a statement this morning that was complete horseshit, and they did not even acknowledge the 200 people that were killed and the 400 people that were injured in order for this operation to even take place. Don't you dare tell Middle Eastern people how to vote this November. Because if this was Ukraine, the whole entire nation would be holding Ukraine flags and putting it up on their apartments and their houses. But since it's Palestine, most Americans don't give a rat's ass.
My name is Morgan Cooper. I'm a U.S. citizen married to a Palestinian. We're raising our 2 small children here in Ramallah, occupied Palestine. It's 4 in the morning and I'm on our roof to check our water supply. Because we don't have water. We didn't have water for 2 days this week, and somehow that feels really weird and inappropriate to complain about or talk about when you look at the absolute annihilation of life in Gaza that is through using food and water both as weapons. And I have a WhatsApp this morning telling me that the Israeli authorities, and before somebody comments that the PA should provide our water, the Israeli settlements were built on 2 of the main aquifers of the West Bank, and our water is confiscated, our wells and our water sources are intentionally destroyed by the occupation. So they confiscate all of the water, they ration it and sell it back to us. And I just read that our water supply has been cut by over 50%. And at a normal time, I get my water from Tuesday, Wednesday to Thursday. And this week I got water one evening and I have one tank and it's gone. Life is untenable under occupation.
Okay. So it's going to go part 2. All right. I'm going to show you in part 2 some type of what I mentioned in the podcast that I was going to show you guys. It's going to be in part 2 about this evangelist thing that I feel like a lot of you should watch it, share it, and put it out there. Like, there is serious Christian evangelist Zionists like this. Like, it's fucked up. So we're gonna go in part 2. I'm also gonna read some energies. I feel like it. Why not? And it's a bit less videos to share on the part 2. So, but God is just to confirm those videos from part 1 and part 2. As always, He's always like that. Anyways, I'll see you in part 2, and make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And yeah, continue the good work, continue the colonizing, continue, advocating to stop a genocide. You are on the right side of history if that's where you're at. And if you're on the opposite of that, shame on you. And yeah, I hope God has mercy on your soul. And yeah, and that heart is going to be heavy when that time comes of judgment. Yeah, it's going to be very heavy. But also there's a specific place in hell for rotten pieces of shit like you. Okay, ignorance and racism and white supremacy, homophobia, Islamophobia, it's not gonna go where it's not the best flex, if you know what I mean, right? It's actually your own doing and your own digging your own grave, all right? And yeah, most of the time I feel like God is going to make sure you have a long life too, so that you also have to deal with a lot of the consequences that that comes from being evil and racist and a disgusting demonic energy soul harvester, right? Because we all have a choice to rebuke those spirits, those demonic spirits, but the fact is that for some of you enjoy having that motherfucker inside you, right? Some of you are conscious of it. That abuse of power is addictive, is it? Yeah. Good luck with that. See you in part 2 for those who actually want to be the opposite of what I just said. And free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, free all the oppressed, and free all oppressed people. And we are going to continue with the liberation, collective liberation of everybody, and equal rights and human rights to be respected. And so it is. Bye.